If you clicked on this video, you're probably wondering, what's the best brush pen and what do I use brush pens for? Lucky for you, we'll be answering both of these questions in this video. Today, I'll be comparing two of the best well-known brush pens out there, the Tombow brush pen and the MILDLINER brush pen. Brush pens are well known in the art niche for drawing, calligraphy, watercoloring, you name it. Make sure to watch till the end to see which one wins. Before we start, here's a close-up of both of these pens to see what their tips look like and how thick each of the tips are. So for the first test, I'm testing the flexibility of these two pens. As you can see, the Tombow brush pen is firm and not as flexible, but on the other hand, the MILDLINER is soft and a lot more flexible, making it the more flexible option. Moving on to the next test, which is the flow test. So for the flow test, we are going to continuously draw these organic scribbles to see how long the ink can stay consistent and not fade, and see if there's any streaking of the ink. After doing this, we can definitely see that with the Tombow brush pen, there is a little bit of light streaking towards the end, but then when we look at the MILDLINER, there is no streaking at all. And this could be because the Tombow brush pen was a slightly older pen. So I'm calling the next test a control test because I want to see how easy it is to control the pen while doing calligraphy for each of these pens. So after doing this, I definitely felt that the Tombow brush pen was a lot better when it came to control and going back and forth between the thin and thick lines. And on the other hand, the MILDLINER was not as good when it came to switching in between these two. And I definitely struggled a little bit when it came to stability. On to the next test. So for the solubility test, we're basically going to be testing how waterproof the ink for each of these pens are. All we're doing is dipping the brush into the water and then we're brushing it across the ink to see if there's any smearing. As you can see, both of these pens seem to be smearing, so both of these pens passed the solubility test. Now we're going to move on to the watercolor test. Now this test is very similar to the solubility test, but instead of adding water to the pen strokes, we're going to make swatches of the pen off to the side, and then we're going to treat it like a paint palette, and we're going to brush these onto the paper. So with the Tombow brush pen, it definitely took quite a lot of strokes of the pen while swatching for the pigment to actually show up when we try to treat it like a watercolor. And also, I made the mistake of not really cleaning the brush before starting the watercolor test, so there was a little bit of transfer from the previous test, but in general, the Tombow brush pen was not pigmented quite literally at all. On the other hand, we can literally see that the MILDLINER had a lot more pigment compared to the Tombow brush pen. Although both of these pens are soluble, if you're looking to switch it up and use these brush pens as watercolors, I think the best option in this case is the Tombow brush pen. Now let's move on to the next test, which is the blending test. So for the blending test, it was really simple. All I did was create one swatch of one of the markers on one side and then create a second swatch and kind of blend it into the first swatch. However, when I did the swatch for the orange and yellow marker for the Tombow brush pen, I realized the technique of how I was doing it was definitely not going to get it to blend, so you can disregard that. However, out of all three of these swatches, for the Tombow brush pen, I definitely can say that the red and the orange was the best swatch. And then on the other hand, when we look at the performance of the MILDLINER, we can see that all three of them have a pretty stark difference between the two swatches and they don't really have really good blending. So disregarding my mistake for the Tombow brush pen, if you're looking to blend markers together, I would say the best option is the Tombow brush pen. On to a similar test, which is pen on pen blending. So before we do this test, I just wanted to caution you guys before you do this because there is a potential for staining your pens. But when I did this, it seemed to go pretty okay, and so please proceed with caution. So as you can see, I'm rubbing the orange and red colors of the Tombow brush pen together and then writing with it onto the paper to create a blended effect. So after attempting to do this twice, I tried to swatch it out later just to see if there was still any staining, and the colors seemed to fade away after two swatches, so that was a pretty good sign. And then when I did it for the MILDLINER, it had a pretty similar response, but I could have added more color. For the MILDLINER, despite me not blending the two colors together as much, it did also seem to fade away after the second or third swatch, so that was a pretty good sign. So both of these can be pretty good options when you want to do some pen-on-pen blending. Looking at the performance of both of these tests and the flexibility, flow, and control test, we can see that they both have a pretty similar performance. However, it seems that the Tombow brush pen has a lot better control, and the MILDLINER is a lot better with flow and flexibility. Then, when it came to the solubility test, it seemed that both performed pretty well. However, when it came to the other blending-based tests, such as the watercolor, the blending, or the pen-on-pen blending, it seemed that the Tombow brush pen performed a lot better compared to the MILDLINER in all 3 of these tests. So if you're looking to use your brush pen as a watercolor pen, then I definitely suggest the Tombow brush pen. So after assessing the performance of each of these pens in each of these tests, we can say that there is no clear winner. That's right, there is no clear winner. If you think either of these pens should have scored otherwise, definitely let me know in the comments down below. Also, if you like this video and you want to see more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe, as this is the 3rd of a series of videos where I compared the best supplies out there. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye-bye.